Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here with Ron Placone and the miserable liberal Steph Zamorano.
Howdy, howdy.
So this guy came on and, the Trump administration wants an immigration that serves the nationalists, the nation's interests.
Oops.
Half the country's in poverty. The economy's getting worse. People that live in the richest country in the world still don't have clean drinking water or the ability to see a doctor. I know what the big problem is. Let's get rid of the children we've previously given a break to. So here's what he has to say.
We should carefully and thoughtfully pursue the types of reforms that are right for the American people. Our nation is comprised of good and decent people who want their government's leaders to fulfill their promises and advance an immigration policy that serves the national interest. We are people of compassion and we are people of law. But there's...
Ending DACA and saying you're compassionate is like you stop paying your credit card bill and calling yourself frugal. Those aren't the same thing. Okay.
Nothing compassionate about the failure to enforce immigration laws. Enforcing the law saves lives, protects communities and taxpayers, and prevents human suffering. Failure to enforce the laws in the past has put our nation at risk of crime, violence, and terrorism.
Yeah, that's true. If you fail to enforce the immigration laws, you're just going to have terrorism. Just look at all those terrorists in Charlottesville that were undocumented workers. Am I right? Nothing but those undocumented workers in their khakis, polo shirts, and white guy haircuts.
Telling everyone else to get out of their country.
Yeah. You will not replace us. Remember when the undocumented run around chanting, "You will not replace us"? Okay.
The compassionate thing to do is end the lawlessness, enforce our laws, and if Congress chooses to make changes to those laws, to do so through the process set forth by our founders.
Yes, and we're compassionate. That's what I love. He stresses the compassionate. We're a compassionate society, so we're kicking you out of here, and when you try to come back, hopefully there'll be a wall. So that was a lot of just nonstop lying that Jeff Sessions did there to justify doing something racist. So you're screwing over kids that were brought here as kids to this country. That's who you're deciding to screw over. And just so you know, 91% of dreamers are employed. The United States would lose over $400 billion in GDP if they were deported. They have spotless records. This is just racism, says Mike Jolette. Or no, Michael. Spelled Mikel, different spelling. So this is from NBC News. The decision could affect as many as 800,000 dreamers who have signed up for the program known as Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals since 2012 inception. Immigration rights advocates said that 200,000 more have sought DACA status since Trump became president. Trump's decision signals he's moving full steam ahead with his hardline immigration campaign promises, despite multiple walkbacks from him on the issue of DACA, and came on the same day that Republican officials from 10 states had set a deadline for the administration to end the program. So that's what this is. So there's these Republican attorney generals, they're suing. They're going to sue over DACA, saying it was an overreach by the executive branch. And so Trump, he didn't want to be seen trying to defend that as part of his executive powers. That's why this is happening. So here, let me just break it down. This is from the New York Times. This is what they said. So this is give you a little bit of I'll read this to you. This is like their summary. The announcement formally started the clock on revoking legal status from those protected under the 5-year-old program. Officials said some of the current immigrants already receiving protection under the Obama-era plan will be able to renew their 2-year period of legal status until October 5th. But the announcement means that if Congress fails to act, undocumented immigrants who were brought to the United States as children could face deportation as early as March to countries where many of them have never lived. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that you wake up one day, you're 12 years old, someone goes, hey, you have to go to Ireland. I'm not from Ireland. Well, you are, but no, I'm not. I don't know. I've never lived there. I don't. Go. Just go. Isn't that wild? Immigration officials said that they do not intend to actively target the young immigrants as priorities for deportation, though without the program's protection, the immigrants are considered subject to removal from the United States and will no longer be able to work legally. Homeland Security officials said no specific guidance would be issued to agents to shield the undocumented immigrants from deportation. It would be up to Congress to extend such protections, they said. Wow, what rotten motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So here is a reporter, immigration reporter for the New York Times. She's going to break it down a little bit more. I'll read to you what she says. She says the Department of Homeland Security will process new DACA applications that have been received as of today on a case-by-case basis, but won't take new ones after today. Applicants for renewing DACA that have been received as of today will be processed as usual. People whose DACA will expire between now and March 5th, 2018 can still apply for renewal by October 5th. Renewal lasts for 2 years. Department of Homeland Security won't strip DACA status from people who have it right now. They'll keep it for the remainder of their 2-year period. In 2018, 275,344 people are set to have DACA expire. Of those, 7,271 have applied for DACA renewal. From January through August 2019, DACA will expire for 321,920 people. Of those, 8 have applied for renewal. ICE says they won't target DACA holders. They're still prioritizing criminals, people already ordered to remove. But people who lose DACA will be treated like anyone else in the country illegally, putting them at risk of deportation. There's lots of concern about ICE using DACA application data, addresses, names, etc., to go after them. Department of Homeland Security says ICE won't proactively get the data to target Dreamers, but can get it for national security criminal investigations. They won't say that what the plan is if Congress doesn't act in 6 months. There's no way to know what we'll be doing in 6 months. What is the impact on DACA holders currently serving in the military? It's unclear. Department of Homeland Security told us we'd have to ask the Department of Defense. And finally, she says, I should add that all of these deadlines apply to work authorizations, too. They go hand in hand with DACA status. What this means, in the short term, anyone whose DACA expires on March 6, 2018, or later, and hasn't already applied to renew, will be at risk. So it's good to see them going after the real problem in America. Children who are working, 91% who have jobs.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I think that's really worth noting here is that you know somebody. Like
yes.
we all know somebody on this. Because, I mean, ever since it started to become an issue and Donald Trump was really outspoken against it, people were coming forward. They're like, I'm in this program. This program is keeping me here. I'm scared if this program goes away. We all know somebody.
Yeah.
And that just magnifies it all because, I mean, it's your neighbors. It's people you know.
So, by the way, again, we have net zero immigration with Mexico, meaning just as many people leave the United States and go back to Mexico as people who come in from Mexico into the United States. Do people even know that? Does the news even ever talk about that? We have net zero immigration from Mexico. So we would build a wall. That wall would end up keeping Mexicans in the United States. So, again, I know a lot of Trump voters, this is what they want. They've been brainwashed into thinking the problem in this country are poor people with no money and no power. That's not the problem in the richest country in the world. The problem in the richest country in the world is that your politicians are 100% corrupted on both parties, and they don't serve you anymore, which is why half the country's poor and low income. That's why. Because they're completely corrupted. The people who are being abused by this economy aren't rich people. They're not business owners. They're not Wall Street executives or pharma CEOs. The people being hurt in this economy are people working, people trying to work. Workers. And they've demonized unions in this country. They have people thinking unions are bad for them. And the media does a shit job of explaining it. A horrible... Chris Hayes used to be a fucking union beat reporter in Chicago. And now what does he do? Look what he does now. He does the bidding of the corporations. That's what he does now. So, that was one of the best guys coming in. So I give you that example to show you that even a guy like Chris Hayes gets totally corrupted when someone offers him $30,000 a day to say what the fuck they want him to say. And then they give him one of those Emmys. Look, he's really good. Look, who gave you an Emmy? It's the institution that I'm serving. They gave me it. Oh, it wasn't some a watchdog group? No. It was my peers who also take the cash to do the corporate bidding. Oh, okay. Am I wrong about that?
No.
When they give an Emmy to Chris Hayes, he's getting from other motherfuckers who are taking money from Comcast and Wall Street. That's who he's getting. That's who's voting for him. Anyway, I don't know how I got off on that. Oh, because they do such a shit job explaining this stuff. That's why. That's why. Did you know? Anyway. I don't have anything else. Steph, you're Mexican. What do you have to say about this?
I'm surprised I'm Mexican. No. I was reading a couple things about it today that they are trying to figure out exactly in 6 months what kind of stuff this Congress could accomplish in light of the Hurricane Harvey. Also, the deficit. Are they really going to be able to handle this immigration matter? And how's it going to affect them when they're running for office? And then I sit here and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I don't want the Democrats reaching across the aisle on something like this. I don't want them coming together. Are the Democrats are they going to be able to stand up for the voiceless?
Well, in 2000, Ronald Reagan did comprehensive immigration reform, meaning he gave amnesty to a lot of people who were here illegally. George Bush in 2006 wanted to. George Bush wanted to do amnesty. There was a big group of Republicans that were ready to do it. And then he got shut down by his base. And now, a Republican saying he's going to do something responsible about immigration is, you're signing your own death certificate. They've been so convinced that the problem in America with our economy is poor people coming here to work. That's really the problem. And then the other problem with our economy is too many people on welfare. That's again, these are not the problems of an American economy. These are not the problems. The problem is that the game has been rigged against anybody who is not in the upper 10%. I would say in the upper 1%. It's been rigged. So good for you. And now they're going to they're going to rig it even harder with more tax breaks, more outsourcing, less worker protections. Things are only going to get worse under Trump, no matter what you think, no matter how much you hope. And if things get better, it is a fucking fluke and has nothing to do with what that kleptomaniac is doing. Hey everybody, we have 2 live Jimmy Dore shows in September. September 25th, we're in San Diego, and September 18th in Burbank, California. Get your tickets right there. There's a link right there.